So effectively, the Phoenix Suns have whiffed on getting not only Danilo Gallinari, but Sundo, we both agreed that they should be going after DeLon Wright. Bottom line, it seems like this team does not want a point guard. That's what you hear from insiders. But it's safe to say you and I both wholeheartedly agree they need somebody on that second unit that can run the point and orchestrate the offense.
Agreed.
With those, what we thought better options off the table, we had to dig a little bit deeper. And I'm happy to report that I feel way more confident about the options that are still left. Last video I did this, people were a little upset with me because I listed Killian Hayes first. People were like, yeah, I checked out when you said Killian Hayes. So not only am I leaving him off of this list, we're going to start with the best option available that we both agree the Suns must look at. Now, this name is going to shock some of you as far as you're probably not going to be that excited about him. But look at his tape and tell us what you guys think. Ish, not Wainwright, but Smith.
Who? Baby Mallow's not going to be happy about this one, Gabe. And I mean, look, we looked at the film. We saw him play against us last year. We saw what he brought to the table, man. And you just can't deny his playmaking ability, his ability to also shoot threes. He's averaging 3.5 assists per game, Gabe, on only playing 17 minutes. So that production off the bench, you like that as well. Shooting 50% from three, that's crazy. Now, not the amount of attempts that you would like. It's not ideal, but still 50% crazy. Cherry on top, averaging 3 points a game. Once again, having that playmaking ability, him also able to get his own buckets, throwing up alley-oops. Honestly, Gabe, he's a total package. And on top of that, he's a veteran player. And we've talked about this so far. What James Jones is seemingly doing right now during this time is getting veteran players to join this team, players that know what they're doing, players that know how to contribute, also players that could have championship pedigree. And like I mentioned before, Gabe, he was on the championship Denver Nuggets team.
Yeah, and he provided a really good spark for them and kept things alive while Joker was sitting. He's helping make sure everybody eats. I think he gets a bad name because he's the ultimate journeyman. He's played for nearly all 28 NBA teams at this point. So people look at him like, well, how good can he really be? But everyone in this NBA nearly has given him a chance because he does bring something. And as you can see, it's playmaking. It's the ability to get a bucket for himself. It's speed. It's potentially more controlled speed than what Campaign gave us. I feel like we're missing Campaign a little bit, and this could be a good remedy for that.
Yeah, the speed is something that I like that you brought up. The fact that sometimes when we watch this team play, they play with no urgency, no tempo, and there's times where they need to have that tempo to sort of keep a team at bay. There's a lot of times where we slow it down and we're asking ourselves, what are we doing? We need to play with tempo. We need to push this ball. Having a player like Ish Smith off the bench with, you know, the second units plus Booker, second units plus Kevin Durant, I think would be great. And you mentioned he's a journeyman. He's played for a lot of teams. I'm just looking at the list and it's crazy. Rockets, Grizzlies, Warriors, Magic, Bucks. He's played for us 1 year. OKC, Philly, Pelicans, Pistons, Wizards, Hornets, Nuggets. That's a lot of teams to play for, and some good and some bad. But you can't deny that he's been in the league for a while. He knows what he's doing. I feel like we could trust him handling the ball. And so that's why he's my top pick.
When it comes to option number 2, it will not surprise me if the chat favors this guy over Ish Smith. And we are going to tell you all about him. But first, this video is brought to you by our sponsors at BetUS. Now, Sundo, obviously Nikola Jokic is the favorite, but there's something really interesting happening here. If you were to bet $100 on Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, and either of them win, obviously the Suns would have to go on a crazy tear through the rest of the second half of the season, but you would win $15,000.
That's pretty crazy. I do like those odds. And I mentioned earlier in the season, you know, with Booker going out, Beal also being out, Kevin Durant had to put this team on his shoulders a lot. And Kevin Durant was a beast earlier in the season. He's still a beast now. And I just feel like Kevin Durant deserves more consideration and will as we continue to play throughout the season. I think that we will go on a run. And I think he'll be at the top and considered for MVP yet again. And so I would heavily consider Kevin Durant at those odds is pretty crazy. Speaking of crazy, Gabe, we have an amazing new promotion from BetUS. Not only will they give you 125% on your first deposit, they're going to give you 125% on your first 3 deposits, Gabe. Use promo code JOIN125 to take advantage of this amazing deal. Plus, they'll give you a 10% gambler's insurance for your net losses if you're active every 6 months. BetUS, our sportsbook for the entire season.
Option number 2, which before we did our research for this video, trust us, we thought this was going to be option number 1 until Ish just kind of blew us away. But this is a player that for a long time Sundo has had his eyes on, Frank Ntilikina.
Yeah, Gabe, I was high on Frank Ntilikina when he came into the league with the New York Knicks when they drafted him with the 8th overall pick in the 2017 draft. I was really intrigued by his size and length, and I really thought he would develop a good offensive game with that size and length, but it just never really happened, and he became a journeyman. Now, what we do know about Frank Ntilikina, with that size and length, great at defense, really good at defense. You can look in the highlights. Dude is a wonderful defender. Now, where I think he is underrated on offense, I mean, just look at the tape. When he played us in that playoff series 2 years ago, he was one of those players that was just a thorn in our side, Gabe. So we've seen what Frank Ntilikina can do personally.
Yeah, there's a reason why he was taken so early. They saw the same things you did, but now rather than being a point guard, he's really just relegated to being a wing defender. And jokes on the league, that's all the Suns really need to focus on getting. At least that's what they say they care about. They don't seem to care about getting a big man, and there are none available outside of Robin Lopez. They say they don't want a point guard. This could be it. He's a decent facilitator. His ability to get to the rim, let's just say on both sides of the ball, he's basically a bigger Okogie, but I like his ability to get to the rim and finish better than Okogie. When it comes to his jumper, there's nothing visually wrong with it. Only his stats are wrong. And the reason I bring that up and so often is because I feel like when there's nothing visually wrong with your jumper, that means it's in the fixable range, that something could click for you at some point because you don't have a hitch like Saban Lee. You don't have some Josh Jackson hitch in your jumper. It's fixable. He's a low-key, brilliant pickup for this team, and I'm glad that the Suns have more than one option left at this point. Now, the last player we've identified the Suns should take a look at. Y'all might not like this one, okay? He's not a very handsome, suave man.
Definitely not.
38.5% from 3 on the season. I'll take it, especially at 6'10". This is a guy who used to kill the Phoenix Suns, Davis Bertans, who is also on a bloated, terrible contract, which is now uprooted from his situation. You don't have to worry about that deal. He potentially could be up for a buyout, maybe this upcoming week. So if the Suns are patient and they're looking for a shooter, this could be an option for the Suns, but you ain't having it. Tell us why.
It's not that I'm not for it. I just figured, having Bol, picking up Thad Young, trading for Royce O'Neal, having Drew Eubanks, having Nurk, I figured we had enough length and size on the team. But you do this thing where you show me his highlights, Gabe, and I start seeing this dude hit shots and the way he's hitting these shots, and I'm just thinking, that's nice. That would be nice to have on this team. A consistent shooter. I mean, just look at his tape, people. Some of the shots that he was putting up were effortless, and I don't even think we have an effortless shooter on this team. Not even Eric Gordon, not even Grayson Allen. No one on this team I feel like is an effortless shooter like that other than KD. That's just my opinion here. And so if we ended up with Bertans, I'm not going to be mad about it. I will accept it because that production cannot be denied at the 3-point stripe. Not only that, I do feel like he is also underrated on defense a little bit with the length. So there's always that.
For the record, and for the people who will be shouting at us in the comments, during the last CBA, he got a bloated contract and then became unplayable at the same time. Maybe it could have been the pressure of all that money and having those expectations, but his shooting went down. He's not shooting a lot this season, but he is hitting at 38.5%. We always talk about this in the Suns offense. there are open threes to be had for all. I trust him. The fact that he's 6'10" and you might be able to get away with playing him as a stretch 5 sometimes, I don't hate it. But tell us what you guys think in the comments. Is there anyone we left off of that list that you want to see in a Suns jersey this season? We'll see you on Bleacher Report later today at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Hope to see you there.